Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, 5 Augmented Reality Experiences Driving E-Commerce Growth, presented by Redstage and Shopify. The webinar will begin in 1 minute. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, 5 Augmented Reality Experiences Driving E-Commerce Growth, presented by Redstage and Shopify. Let's take a look at today's speakers. Chris, why don't you kick us off?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be speaking with all of you today. My name is Christopher Yin. I'm the Global Creative Director here at Redstage. I've been in the creative industry for the last 20 plus years, starting from when the internet first started through computer and 3D animation to video production and now to augmented reality.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jon Wade. I'm a product manager at Shopify, working in augmented and virtual reality, as well as with other media types, 3D, video, images, and so on. I've been there at Shopify for about 4.5 years. I was actually the second employee hired to work on AR and VR dedicated at Shopify. Before that, spent quite a long time working at a university, doing related things in virtual reality and cognitive science work. So happy to be here today.
All right, and I'm Don Pingaro, Marketing Manager from Redstage, and I'll be moderating today's session. Chris, let's kick it off.
All right, so what is augmented reality? Augmented reality, or AR, is the act of blurring the digital world with the real world. So what do I mean by that? AR takes components of the digital world and merges it into a person's perception of the real world. This is achieved through real-time interaction with accurate 3D recognition of virtual and real-world objects. The best part about AR is that it doesn't require any additional hardware except what you already have in your pocket, a smartphone. Now, if you're still using a flip phone, I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to add it to the list of experiences you're missing out on. But simply, AR works by using a camera on your smartphone or a tablet, seeing the augmented world on screen as if you were taking a picture, rather than wearing a clunky low-res VR headset. You most likely have experienced AR already inside of social media apps like Snapchat and Facebook filters. And the most famous, Pokemon Go, that you probably heard about last year. They currently have over 1 billion downloads. So, why is it so important to invest in AR right now? In 2 words, digital transformation. The current value of the AR market stands at $3.5 billion and is forecasted to hit $70 to $75 billion in revenue by 2023. AR has the unique ability to engage your customers like never before. Customers can now virtually experience the look and feel of a product that traditional photos just can't match. With AR, customers are able to make confident buying decisions, building that customer empathy we're all trying to achieve. AR revenues are surpassing VR this year, with AR having a bigger impact on mobile devices over VR, which are the devices that the majority of your customers are using. Online furniture and lifestyle retailer CB2 found that product pages featuring 3D and AR experiences drove 21% higher revenue per visit and added a 13% lift in average order size. According to retailperceptions.com, 61% of consumers say they prefer retailers with AR experiences. 40% of consumers say they would pay more for a product that they could customize and see in AR, and 71% of consumers say they would shop more often on a site that had AR versus traditional photography. It is important to know that the majority of users of AR fall into the 16 to 34 age group. Jon, what are some of the statistics that Shopify has?
Yeah, we've done a number of studies looking at not just at buyer intent, but actually their behavior. And so the most recent of them was really interesting. We looked at quite a few merchants who had products that were a mix. Some only had images, some had images and video, and others had images and 3D models and augmented reality features. And we watched how buyers who came to their sites, what their journeys were like for those who only looked at products that happen to have images versus those that looked at them that had 3D and AR. And what we found was there is a 93% lift in conversion by those who came and looked at a 3D model or experienced something in augmented reality as a part of their buyer journey. And so that's a huge lift, of course, and it speaks to the actual behavior, not just the intent of those buyers. Something else unfortunately, I don't have any stats for you today, but something else we're keenly watching is the impact of augmented reality on returns, right? That's an extreme place where cost savings could be had if you had way fewer returns, and there's a lot of other side benefits that are for the environment, better experience for customers if they're getting the thing they want in the first place. So yeah, that's some of the stuff we've seen from our side.
All right. Now, Amazon recognizes the importance of augmented reality and is steadily offering AR more on their products week by week. And given what we've discussed on the prior slides, coupled with the reach and influence Amazon has on your customers, shoppers are starting to expect to find this feature on websites. If you are already a merchant on Amazon or ever looked into it, then you know the loss of margin you'll experience on your products. And if you're going to compete with Amazon, you better be offering the same, if not better, shopping experience. Jon, I consider Shopify an indirect Amazon competitor. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of want to echo just what you said there, right? It's not only Amazon, but the Walmarts, the Targets, all of the big titans of the industry are investing in AR and are adding AR features. And much like we saw with 2-day shipping, as these become expected purchasing experience touch points for consumers, you have to keep up, right? And so certainly at Shopify, we're trying to democratize a lot of this technology, make it available to merchants of all sizes and all experience levels, so that their experience matches that of Amazon and these other big companies, if not surpass those.
So how many of you miss going to the mall or a store? From a website, how do you know what a ring will look like on your fiance's finger just from photographs? Or, how diamond earrings will look in her ear? Or my favorite, sunglasses. Sadly, I would spend hours in the sunglass hut trying on pair after pair, searching for the right look. So I am very hesitant to order glasses online just because, maybe my head's a little odd shape or they don't exactly fit on my face correctly. At this point, I want to also talk about the experience on the desktop. Did you know that having AR on mobile will simultaneously give you a 3D experience on desktop like no photograph can give? And, some of you might say, well, what about those 3D product rotations? And that simply reminds me of the days when the iPhone first came out and everyone was still using BlackBerries and flip phones. There's really no comparison. So we had a bullet on a previous slide. I hope you saw it, but the new iPad Pro and the soon to market iPhone 12 and a bunch of Samsung devices will all have LiDAR standard. So for those who do not know what LiDAR is, it's basically a method for measuring distances. And it does this by illuminating the target with laser light so you can measure the reflection with the sensor. So with all these technological advances, you will now have the ability to accurately scan your body or an object in real time. Imagine if you were sitting at your desk, busy working, and a buddy of yours sends over a link to a motorcycle helmet he would like to buy, or thinks that it would be right for you. And you can just scan a code and get the augmented reality experience and try that helmet on for yourself. Or it's back to school and you want to see if the backpack fits your child before you order it. Perhaps you want to view a tennis racket in hand or try on a brand new pair of shoes and walk around. The best part is your potential customers can record these AR interactions and socially share for opinions, and they will. So think about the outreach that you will have by simply letting people do what they do. Talk about subconscious viral marketing. So this is a concept we're working on with PANINI. Now, PANINI makes trading cards, but the trading card hasn't really changed much since the 1860s. In essence, it's just a printed piece of cardboard. So how do you revolutionize or evolve a trading card? Well, with today's technology coupled with computer vision, we have the ability to recognize the trading card's graphics, initiate AR, and bring it to life with animation and sound. Any wine drinkers out there? Another great example of this is the 19 Crimes wine. I don't know if how many of you have seen this before, but if you were to download their app and place the bottle in the camera's field of view, the label will actually come to life and begin to speak. Now, I'm not going to get into the app AR versus browser AR, but the point is AR is allowing marketing and user experiences that live far outside the box. Not only does AR customers play with your product, but they even more importantly provide you with viral marketing. Now, I've done a lot of talking, and I would like to pass this over to Jon so he can share the great things he and his team are doing over at Shopify. Jon?
Yeah, so we see 3D and all the different ways that 3D models can be used as a really important part of the future, to the point where we believe in the long run that 3D models will replace a lot of the functions that imagery and video use or like occupy right now. So with that in mind, we made a bold stake and decided to make 3D built into the entire Shopify platform. So the same place you would upload an image for your products and your information, you can add a 3D model now. And the great part about this is right now we provide you with a number of experiences, but as time goes on, we're going to grow the number of ways that those 3D models will benefit and show you a return on investment. So right now, primarily, there's two experiences. First is 3D on the web. You see an example of that here. If you scan this QR code, if you have an iPhone, if you just open the camera app and point it there, it will prompt you to go to this page. Or on iOS, you can use on Android, you can use a QR code scanner. You'll see 3D directly on the web where you can spin a model and look at it from any angle. You can zoom in on details. And this experience is built into the web. It doesn't require any plugins, any additional software. Any major browser will work. And then the second experience is the augmented reality, where instead of viewing this 3D on the page, you kind of bring it out of the page and into the real world. You'll see a camera view of the world around you, and you'll be able to place this object in the world at its real scale and size. And again, be able to walk around it, zoom in and inspect details and so on. Again, that's something that requires no new software from the user. That functionality is built into iOS as well as Android these days. And both of those companies are continually improving the experience there. So what does this mean to your bottom line? Well, again, you're going to see an increase in conversion. You're going to see an increase in engagement, and likely lowering returns if your product has a lot of spatial component, if it's available in different sizes and so on. So here's a second example, a tie and bow tie store on Shopify. They've gone one step further. You can just place the bow tie or the tie on your table if you want. But they use some of the newer technology from Apple where you can click and use facial recognition, so it recognizes where your face and your head is, and you can actually see what the bow tie looks like on your neck. So another great example for folks to try.
So at this point, we've talked about some of the key benefits and use cases in B2C, but let's now focus on how augmented reality is being used in the B2B space. Manufacturers today are using AR to help speed up production, reduce overhead, and limit mistakes. For example, let's say you're a major packaging supplier, and before you send a custom label to print for a package, you have to send out a physical proof to your customer to get final approval. Well, you have the cost of creating that one-off, the shipping cost, and more importantly, the wasted time it takes to get approval. Now, imagine you send your customer a link or a QR code. They open it up with their smartphone or tablet, and they see it in real time on their desk or office space instantaneously. Maybe even while you're on the phone with them. I mean, how cool is that? Theoretically, you could get same-day approval. Think about the cost savings there. What if a technician could use AR to help guide him or her through the installation of, say, I don't know, a substation pump? Let's say that pump needs to be replaced underground in a dark sewer. What are the defects? Will the new pump fit? Since this pump is using new technology, what are the other materials you're going to need for installation? Having the ability to use AR to guide or inspect prior installation will reduce mistakes and reduce the time it takes to fix, saving the owner thousands on overhead. I don't know about all of you, but I'm a very visual person. So let's say I'm building a new gym, or better yet, a distribution warehouse. Rather than taping out the footprint of machinery, imagine if you can just see how that machine will fit into place in real time. Does that machine need to be rotated? How much working space will you really need? It's a lot easier to see and make a decision than trying to imagine what it would look like with measurements with rudimentary tape on the floor. So just like placing machinery in a warehouse, you can use AR to place appliances in your home, office, or workspace. So let's imagine you're in charge of setting up a new kitchen or common space. By the way, if you scan the QR code shown on the screen, you can see some of our AR in action. I highly encourage all of you to do so now. But going back to the HR example, wouldn't it be super helpful if you could see the appliances you need to order and how they fit into that space? Do those appliances actually fit your motif that you're trying to create? For those who scan the code, as you can see, the models are highly detailed and realistic. You can walk around it, move in and out, giving you a real sense of what you're getting. So DHL is currently making an investment over $300 million in AR due to the digital transformation and the growth of e-commerce. Now, they began using smart glasses technology in 2015, but AR and wearables were still in their infancy, and somewhat they still are. But here are some things to think about. Apple is planning to launch their AR glasses soon, and they have recently acquired Spaces, which is a VR company. Google has invested billions into Magic Leap. They produce a head-mounted retina display called Magic Leap 1. Facebook acquired Oculus. Microsoft has the HoloLens. And Snapchat has raised $1 billion just for AR. And I personally know that they're looking to leverage AR in retail. Wayfair, Walmart, Target, IKEA are all heavily invested in AR. And we are telling all of you this today so that you don't miss the boat and have to play catch up. If you wait until you lose market share and be reactionary, it will already be too late. Just think of your digital transformation most of you have undertook because of this pandemic. I mean, who would have imagined this is where we'd be today? Implementing AR is faster and easier than you think. A lot of you already have CAD models that you use for production, which we can take and simplify, or we can actually model the products for you. We can also inject AR capabilities on any website without the need for an app. So, don't be fooled by companies offering older solutions out there. Trust me, you don't need an app. Making users download an app just for AR is a bad user experience. I think, John, you can also speak to this as well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, as mentioned, like our stuff is built on basic web standards that are built into all browsers, and at the base level, we leverage things that are built into iOS and Android that don't require app installs. I think that's the best path forward, and it's certainly the path we're going to continue to take. Now, the web, Apple, Google, and eventually any competitors that might come along, they're certainly going to evolve all those experiences, and so more value will come from them using the same content you start with today.
Now that we're coming to a close here, I just, have a final point. AR is more than a nice to have. Today, it's a must have. And it isn't just novelty. It's a substitute of what life was like before the virus. The time when you could leisurely go to the store and simply play with a product, to view it in hand, and to see it in front of you, to walk around it, see all the sides rather than imagining through still photos. It makes you have that feeling of wonderment. Like when we were little kids walking down 34th Street with our parents, gazing into Macy's fake snow falling and shiny holiday windows, all wide-eyed and wishing. The truth is, those days are over, at least in the immediate future. But augmented reality will allow your customers to make informed decisions on purchasing, engage your customers, and in the end, the user experience that will get you what you ultimately desire, conversions. I would just like to thank everyone and John for taking the time today to watch our presentation. I'm just going to throw this back over to you, Don.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, John, for both adding so much insight into this relatively short webinar. I know we'll have more time to discuss in the Q&A session after, but I did want to reach out and mention to everyone that for attending this webinar, we're offering free AR models of your logo. Just shoot a note with an EPS file to info@redstage.com, and we'll have the creative team put together some really cool AR models for you. If you want to check out some other AR projects we've done in greater detail, feel free to go to redstage.com/augmented reality design, and you can check out some of our models there. Now, let's check out some of the questions that we've had during the webinar. And feel free to submit questions in the chat as well if you have any questions for our guests today. All right, so Chris, you mentioned computer vision early on in the presentation. Can you give us some more insight into what exactly computer vision is?
Sure. Computer vision is giving the computer the ability to use AI to recognize what is actually in a photograph or the camera's field of view. Using computer vision, you're going to be able to get real-time scans of the environment around you, so you can get better interactions with objects. A prime example of this would be, Snapchat. Right? If you're on a Snapchat filter and let's just say you make your face look like a unicorn's face, right? If you hold up a teddy bear, it will not put that face on the teddy bear's head because it recognizes that your face is a human face, and that's where it needs to put the augmented reality. There's the Roomba vacuums that are out there. Very shortly are going to be able to recognize the coffee table in your home, and you're going to be able to make commands and say, hey, Roomba, go over there and vacuum around the coffee table, and it will do it.
I think for me, you hear a lot about personalized computing these days, making a more human experience when you're working with phones or computers or any other technology. But for technology to be personalized, it needs to understand your context as a user, right? What you're trying to do, but also where you are. And that's exactly what computer vision provides. It provides the computer with understanding of the space you're in, whether that's the actual dimensions and the layout of the space. And sometimes more importantly, what's in there, right? Labeling things like, oh, that's the table, that's the desk, that's a coworker. Are you alone or is there someone else in the room? And so I think personalized computing won't happen if the computers don't understand your context, and a huge part of that context is where you are and what you're doing.
All right, thanks, guys. Here's another one. What are some areas that benefit from AR aside from the customer experience?
I think a huge area that is benefiting from this is the health and medical sector. They're able to now have use augmented reality, for example, with let's say Microsoft's HoloLens, or a Google Glass, or a one of the new Apple glasses, and actually allow surgeons to guide other surgeons in different parts of the world and have augmented reality experiences and information in your own field of view. I think another one, why do we have a monitor on our desk, right? We're limited to that 2D dimension right there, the screen size, where now you can, with these new devices coming out, you're going to be able to see infinite desktop space in the world around you. You might want to look up and you check your emails. You look to the left and you got the football game on. You look to the right and you have some video content that you're trying to put together and edit. It's really endless about the different ways you can use augmented reality to really change our world and change our lives. John, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about our senses, right, and what augmented reality can bring to us is anywhere where the size of something matters. So, earlier in the presentation, we had the example of putting machinery and laying it out on a factory floor. You can think about architecture as well, where space is really the key ingredient that has to be analyzed. The other one is any task where information corresponds or lives next to something in the world, right? So something like fulfillment, where you're picking and packing orders in a warehouse. why have, whether it's an iPad or a packing slip or something like that, that you have to kind of refer to back and forth? Why not just have what goes in the box displayed directly on the box that updates in real time? Why not have all of the boxes on the shelves display their inventory or their quantity right on the side that can update in real time as an augmented reality vision? And there's a place where that semantic information is tied really critically to something spatial. So I think, each industry is going to have their own tasks where those things, either the use of space or the correspondence of information to a physical thing, are going to be important. And I think, yeah, as you mentioned, the healthcare one's really interesting. Fulfillment is really interesting. But I'm sure people can dream up all kinds of things that are relevant to their individual industries.
All right, and I think we have time for just about one more question here. But what do you guys think will be the impact of AR on the holiday season?
I think roughly off the top of my head, I know there was a 10% bump in e-commerce last year, and that was before COVID hit, and I can only imagine that now having augmented reality on more and more websites, on Amazon, Target, Walmart's, IKEA's, giving the customers the ability to actually shop without going to shop, and being able to jump from one website to another to get those experiences and see products are going to increase conversions tenfold, especially in this post-pandemic world, where things are shut down. It's hard to go places. I can't tell you how many times I've ordered something and the photographs were a misrepresentation on the size of it, especially, like jewelry. I think you're getting this big shiny diamond and the thing is tiny, so I think augmented reality is really going to help users feel confident in purchasing and get you those conversions. So the return on investment, I think, is completely worth it. And augmented reality is here to stay and is only going to get better in the future.
Yeah, from my side, I mean, I think it's going to be really interesting to watch, right? In many ways, it's still early days for AR, but the folks who are implementing it now for this holiday season are going to be the ones who learn the lessons early, right? Whether that's the implementation details of making it work, but like anything, whether it's your marketing campaigns and so on, it takes some time to experiment and figure out where the most impact will be held. And so those folks who are playing with AR this season will reap those benefits. I think it will also be interesting to see the effects of COVID and what I assume will be a slower season in the retail industry. Will augmented reality really solve some of the problems that people would go into the stores for the things about sizing, for making sure that they're getting something that matches the color of their room the way they expect? And I think most interesting will be some of the stuff we've mentioned about the social impact, right? If these augmented reality features, which are new, are buzzworthy still, start to see a lot of shares on social networking where people are trying out these, and whether they're sharing them with a small group of friends and family or their close circle, or whether they're using a platform like your Twitter or TikToks. It's going to be fun to watch all the creative ways that both the consumers and different merchants use augmented reality this season.
All right. Well, Jon and Chris, thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate having you both on, taking time out of your busy schedules. And thank you to everyone who attended this webinar until the end. There'll be more to come on the subject, and keep an eye out on the Redstage blog and resources pages for more information. And feel free to reach out if you have any other questions that we weren't able to get to during the webinar. Thanks again for attending. Have a great day.